So in chapter 8, we're moving on to quadrilaterals. So quad means four-sided shapes. Okay, so we're moving away from triangles for a little while, but don't worry, they're coming back. Okay, so we still need to keep up on them. But we're going to move to a few other shapes. Okay, so in 8.1, we're looking at parallelogram properties. Okay, so I'm going to use this one big parallelogram here and draw in a bunch of stuff, and we'll use each of the lines for our properties. Okay, so here's the first thing you know about a parallelogram. It's right in the name, and that is that you have two sets of parallel sides. Please remember, arrows only mean parallel, nothing else. They don't mean equal. Okay, so I'll just use single arrows and double arrows just to say we have two sets of parallel sides. Remember, our symbol for parallel, guys, is this. So I'm just going to simply put parallel sides. There's your first property. The second thing is, in a parallelogram, opposite sides are not only parallel, but they are also equal. Okay, so let's get the marks in here to mean that they are equal. Again, it's just the two that are opposite of each other, and then these two are different lengths, but they are equal to each other. The next property that you need to know and have memorized is that opposite angles, which I'll just abbreviate with a symbol, are equal. Okay, and so we mean, I'm not going to put it in the picture because it can make it too complicated, or maybe I'll put it momentarily and then take it away. That's probably a good idea. That means like angle D equals angle B, and it also means that angle A, different symbol, equals angle C. Okay, again, that's going to get too complicated for the picture for the things I'm going to add, so I'm getting rid of those, but that is a true statement of what's happening. Okay, next, consecutive angles. Well, before I tell you about consecutive angles, what's consecutive mean? So consecutive means in order. So like consecutive numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4. So consecutive angles means they're like right next to each other. Okay, they're in order. Consecutive angles are supplementary. I'm just going to abbreviate that sup. All right, consecutive angles are supplementary, meaning they add to 180. So in other words, in this picture, like angle A and B, since they're next to each other, they add to 180. B and C add to 180. C and D add to 180. D and A add to 180. Okay. Just to review and kind of keep those properties coming back, I do want you to realize that if you draw in one diagonal, so we're going to take this down as a property, one diagonal, and I'll just say comma, a diagonal goes across a picture from one corner to another. So if I just draw in one diagonal from D to B, okay, it creates two congruent, remember that symbol, okay, it has that little squiggle and then an equal sign under it. It creates two congruent triangles. And those congruent triangles would be congruent by, well, since those two triangles share that DB line, you should be able to see that they would be congruent by side, 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 or side, angle, side. Okay, because remember, angle A and C are equal to each other. So I just want to kind of throw that out there just for a little bit of review of our triangle stuff. So by side, 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 or side, angle, side. Okay. All right, and the last property you got to know is that the diagonals bisect. There's that word coming back. What's bisect mean? Bi means two, sect means cut. So remember, bisect would mean to cut into two equal parts. So the diagonals bisect each other. Okay, so now we need to add more to the picture. So now if I go ahead and draw in the other diagonal from A to C, if they're bisecting each other, that means this part and this part would be equal. And it also means that this part, I'm just running out of symbols. I'm going to use kind of like a parenthesis, that part and that part would equal each other. Okay, so there's the properties you need to have memorized. Those 6, okay, properties are what make up a parallelogram. Okay, so understand, remember, we don't trust what pictures look like, we trust the information that's given to us, and therefore when I'm doing these problems, I either need to label enough in the picture for you to know it's a parallelogram, or I flat out have to tell you. Okay, so obviously since these are on these notes, I'm flat out telling you these are parallelograms. Okay, so you can trust that they are parallelograms. So here we go. Let's say for this first problem, I won't use all of these. I'm going to use this upper left one for a moment. Let's say to find x and DC. Okay, and go ahead and label these for yourself. Let's make this side x plus 18 and this side 4x. Okay, and then in the homework, they're going to ask you to do some different parts. So I'm going to make like A, B, and C with you guys. So for part A, I just want you to solve for x by setting up an equation. We're going to ask you what the property was that you used, and then we'll also find the part DC that they asked us for. So here we go, in A. Actually, I'm going to make more room because I actually need to label another side. Let's make this side 3x minus 2. Okay, all right, so I'll start A up here a little bit further so I have room. All right, so what equation can we come up with? And this would be part of your work that you need to show. All right, well, I know that 3x minus 2, I just chose the one with the bigger x on the left because you guys like the bigger x's on the left. I know that equals x plus 18. And why is that? That'll be coming up, but why did we know that? Which of the 6 properties did you use? And hopefully you're going to tell me that because opposite sides are equal. All right, so if we solve this, back to our algebra, subtract x from both sides, I would have 2x's. Add 2 to both sides, we'd have 20. Divide by 2, and x would equal 10. I'll box that because I did ask you to find x. For part B, we're going to ask you for the property used. And I highly suggest that even if we don't ask you for the property used, that you just get in the habit of maybe writing down the property in parentheses behind your equation, because you have to have these properties memorized. Okay, so the more you write them, not just read them, the better you will be at getting them memorized. Okay, so our property used was opposite, and this is the minimum amount you can write. I'm fine with you abbreviating, but not too much. So it's got to say opposite sides equal. There you go. And part C, lastly, asked you to find DC. Okay, so side DC, segment DC, whatever you want to call it. Okay, for the picture, it's just side DC. Well, DC is not labeled. If it was, I would just plug in X. However, I should know that DC equals side AB. So whatever you're doing, put that as your work. And so therefore, I am plugging and chugging. I'm going to say it's 4 times the X I got of 10. And therefore, I will say that DC equals 40. And again, we asked you to keep in the habit of always telling me why. So what property did you just use? Your property was opposite sides are equal. Okay, so there's the property you used. All right, perfect. That second picture on the right, like I said, we're just not going to use it. We'll come down here. Let's say I give you this is 60 degrees, and I know sometimes you guys have other colors and sometimes you don't. If you don't, I suggest you just circle maybe what was given to you. So there's all I'm giving you, and then I've got a few different questions about angles. Okay, guys, I usually don't even look about what the question's asking me. I just start finding things. Okay, so there's a few things we know. Opposite angles are what? Equal. So you know that this is 60. So we just found that. What do you know about consecutive angles? They're supplementary, meaning the numbers add to 180. Okay, so if you take then, I guess we can start answering some questions just so it's written. So I guess the first thing is, what's angle B? Well, angle B you would have said is the same as angle D, and it equals 60 degrees. Property behind it is because opposite angles are equal. Okay, so just keep in the habit of writing that for yourself. All right, so now I was asking you for angle A. So what work are you going to show me? Okay, hopefully you're going to tell me it equals 180 minus the 60 degrees that it's next to, and therefore it will be 120. It's an angle. You do need to have degrees. And the property you used was that consecutive angles are supplementary. There's the minimum you can write for me. Okay, so now you just figured out this is 120 degrees. And then if I ask you to find angle C, you have 3 ways to do it. But I think the easiest is just to say it equals angle A, and therefore 120 degrees. And that is, again, because opposite angles are equal. So we'll put the 120 degrees in there. You could have also done the supplement to angle B or the supplement to angle D. Either one. Okay. Next, just to make sure you're understanding what you see in the picture. Okay. Let's say that I draw 3 here and 5 here. Okay, so let me highlight with a different color, and then I'll simplify it. When you see that in the picture, guys, please understand, I am saying 3 is the length from here to there, where the 2 diagonals cross. And I'm saying 5 is the length from D to there, where the 2 diagonals cross. Okay, that's what's happening. So that's what needs to be highlighted for you, and you understand. So if that's all I drew in the picture was just the 3 and the 5, and I asked you the following questions, AC and DB. I claim you have enough information. So AC, the entire diagonal, would be 6. And DB, the entire diagonal, would be 10. And why am I getting those answers? What property am I using? Why do I know that AC is 3 and 3 and DB is 5 and 5? Because diagonals, and this is how you can abbreviate it, so look up here and check it out. Diagonals bisect each other. All right, so there's what I expect to see for work. You keep practicing those properties, okay, and not just giving me the answers boxed, but go ahead and put the properties in there also. Okay, the more you do that, the better you will be at getting these memorized. Okay, so get down your 6 parallelogram characteristics, because we will be writing those same ones every day as we make new shapes that are more specific and turn into something else. You'll see what I mean when we go with it. Okay, but get those 6 memorized. You'll need to be able to tell me those over and over. Okay, so I might suggest that you get some note cards and you start writing down the properties and knowing what goes with which shape. Okay, since we're going to have so many shapes in this chapter. All right, there's what you need for parallelograms.